Hey everybody, how you doing? So today we are talking about this. This is the Analogue Pocket, something I've been waiting a while for because this thing is very, very freaking cool. It is a portable game system using not one but two FPGAs. We'll get into that in a little bit. If you don't know what an FPGA is, it's a field programmable gate array. It's basically a microchip with a bunch of transistors in a row. You can program it to make different circuit paths, emulate different types of hardware, different types of microchips. And since these systems are so old, and we've gotten so far with FPGA technology, we can actually recreate a circuit for, processor and everything. The entire workings of like a Game Boy or an NES, where this really started, and then a Super Nintendo and a Genesis. And Analog has a couple of these solutions already. They have a Super NT, which is basically an FPGA version of the Super Nintendo, and then they have the Mega SG, which is the Sega Genesis version. Now, the reason FPGAs are good is they are basically one-to-one to the way the original hardware worked. So you don't have any kind of weird funkiness or sound glitches, or in theory, any sound glitches and stuff if it's been programmed right. It's cool. However, with the console setup and the console systems, I've had two problems. One, they don't solve a lot of issues for those particular systems for me. So I like light gun games a lot, and you still can't play a light gun game on a SG or NT with these systems. There's no solution there because they're basically working exactly the same. Well, not basically, they are working exactly the same as the original hardware. So there's limitations there. And that original hardware in those games expected there to be a CRT there because that's what the light gun sensor needs to pick up. So the only way to really fix that is through software emulation. And that's where I think for that particular use case that I want, it's a little bit suited better that way. Also, when you're talking about the 16-bit and the 8-bit CPUs back in the day, especially the home consoles, they've gotten a lot of love over the years. And we've really gotten to the point where that stuff has been hammered out almost flawlessly. You get a little bit of sound glitch here and there. Maybe the occasional game every once in a while has like a little weirdness. I know Stunt Race FX, until it came out on the NES Online or SNES Online for the Nintendo Switch, it didn't have any good accurate emulation. That's one game, but that game doesn't have a lot of love either. So that's where something like the NT would be appealing to me, but I'm not going to do it for that one game. The other problem I have with those systems is you have to buy a new system every time, and I'm limited on space. I would like something that can encompass a lot of different stuff. And we started to see Analog finally go this route with the SG a little bit. It actually includes a cartridge adapter, so you can also play Sega Master System games on it. But with the NT and the Super NT, it was a single system. You could only play Nintendo games. You can only play this. The Pocket is doing a couple things that I do believe these original Game Boys and stuff did better. Now, I got this actually fairly recently. It's a Game Boy Advance SP, obviously. And what I wanted to do with this is, and the reason I got an SP is because it's got this one's the front lit model, unfortunately. I wanted to mod it to the back light, okay? And then I wanted to put a new case on it because this one's pretty scratched up and stuff. It's actually not too bad, but it's a little bit scratched up. And do some modern things like add a glass screen on the front and all that. And so it was a work in progress, and you can see this was owned by Max at some point. So there's little things here and there, but it was a good fit because this will work with three systems: Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. So with the Pocket, they're going to be selling it, and it will work with Advance, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy games. And since it's an FPGA console, it will also be hardware accurate. The other cool thing is this is adding little things that the Game Boy didn't have. So it has a screen. It's 1600 by 1440. That's actually the Game Boy screen 10 times scaled up. So it's actually making it HD. And it has a really nice display technology that I understand is close to IPS, but not quite. It's a little bit more responsive. And it actually has a glass screen cover on the front and everything. And the other cool thing is on the side, there's stereo speakers. The Game Boy line, to get stereo, you always had to put a headphone in it, or use earphones or something. There's only ever been one single speaker on the Game Boy. And specifically on this one, they kind of beat Apple to the punch, but there was a dongle that you had to put in to actually get a 3.5 millimeter jack out of it. So weird. But this actually has stereo speakers on the left and the right of the screen, which should also give you pretty good stereo separation. And there's some really good stereo music coming out of those old systems. It was pretty cool. And then on top of that, they're going to be selling a dock later on, and it's going to be very Switch-like. This thing has a USB-C port on the bottom, and if you want to play it on your TV, which I don't think I personally would, I'd rather play these games on the way they were meant to be played, but, I could change my mind. The dock will actually have Bluetooth in it and an HDMI out, and you'll just plug this in, and you put your game cart in there, and it'll just work on the TV, and you can use like an 8-bit controller to, play your Game Boy games. Now, one of the areas I was kind of like looking down on this thing was the shoulder buttons. They don't look like they're in a good spot or they're comfortable, but they have said that this is actually remappable, and they have 4 face buttons, so you can just put L and R on the face and you're fine. Because I was like thinking about it, I'm like, well, that sucks it's there, but it didn't occur to me until I thought about it later and looked at this. This only has A and B on the face. You can remap, if they're remappable, I can put the shoulders on the face and I'll never have to touch them on the back. Because one of the sticking points I've never liked about the SP is these buttons here after you're playing it for a while. Alright, so I have some points I want to make about the Analogue. Now, a lot of people have been saying, I already own a lot of these handhelds, and that's a valid point. They work. And in that case, I would say maybe don't get one. I'm excited for it because, in a weird way, and a lot of people are saying that the price point of $200 is expensive. It is. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, you could just get a Game Boy and just play that if that's what you care about. But I do want to get back into pocket system collecting and stuff. That's something I've been interested in, and just retro in general. I'm looking forward actually to the Poly Mega when it comes to regular home consoles, because it includes all those units into one. Granted, there's modules you have to buy, but that's a lot less space trying to figure out where you're going to put like this system with that system with your Switch, your PS4, or whatever. Game Boy Advance. I tried to find one of the ones with the backlit screen, to be fair, and this is about the best price and the best condition I can find. And this is on eBay for $66. I typically, if these are in the wild at retro game stores around here, you're looking at $80 to $90 just to get one, and that's pretty much what they sold at brand new. So take it as you will. There aren't too many of these out in the wild. If you just care about advanced games and you happen to find a deal on a micro, you can go that way. But what a lot of people start doing is taking AGS screens and modding them into other Game Boy Advance SPs and even Game Boy Advances. So here's a web page that actually gives you an idea of the cost involved in modding a Game Boy Advance to have one of these screens. So the screen by itself, you're looking at about $70 to $80 just for the screen. Then you need to get yourself a ribbon adapter that goes from 40 pin to 30 pin for a lot of these systems, or 32. I'm sorry about that. And that's like $8. Then you might want to put like a regulator on there to make sure it's bright enough. That's kind of one of my problems with this front lit screen, is when you compare it to other screens, it doesn't hold up anymore. It really doesn't. So you're looking at another $20 for that. And then you have to get all the work done, or you have to pay somebody to do the work for you. Now, you can get Game Boy Advances with the work already done, but you're looking at $150 to $180 to have a Game Boy Advance rebuilt from the ground up with all the stuff you want and sent to you. And if you get like really crazy, like rechargeable batteries and all that, you're well past the $200 mark. All right, so let's talk about options for playing on your TV. You could, if you have a Super NT already, get a Super Game Boy, or if you just have another solution for your Super Nintendo, you can get a Super Game Boy. And they're relatively cheap. There's one on eBay right here for $15. It's not too bad. But you're only going to be limited to original Game Boy games. You can't play Color or Advance on it. But there's a solution. GameCube had the Game Boy player. So this is about the best price I could find on eBay. There's the Game Boy player. It's $66 for a Game Boy player, and it's important that you have the startup disc, or else this is just a brick at that point. It won't work. Now you can get stuff like Eon's like HDMI out. You have to have a GameCube that has the digital out. It won't work on an analog only, which there seems to be, it's getting harder to find the digital ones out there. And then, you have to get that adapter. You're talking about, what is it, like another $80 for that or something like that. So to get like a good HDMI out, and then you're only going to get 480p out of that thing. You're not going to get like a 1080 or anything like that. So you can start to see the trend of why I'm finding it a little bit annoying that people are saying $200 is a lot, because just doing this stuff to your system is a lot. So now let's go on to another supported system on this with an adapter, and that is Neo Geo Pocket Color, which I'm excited about. Now, I like the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I've almost gotten one a couple times, but around here at most stores, I usually find them at the lowest, like $40 for a pretty beat up one. I'm usually looking at like $50, $60 for a good one. Here's one that looks pretty decent. It's got like that weird carbon fiber look that I like a lot to it. And this one is going for a cool $30 on eBay, which is not too bad, Now let's say you have to keep in mind the screen is only it's only reflective. It's not even like lit at all. So there is a front light mod. And the front light mod, honestly, is not too bad. I've seen much worse for a lot of stuff. We're looking at about $13.99 for it, but then you have to solder it in yourself and all that to, do the job. So the front light is going to be about the same as what you're used to seeing like on the Afterburner mods for the original GBA, and pretty close to what you see on the SP. Okay, so here's another system I found on eBay that's supported, the Atari Lynx. This is actually the Model 2. It comes with California Games, which was included in it. And you're looking at the best price I could find for the best condition one is you're looking at about $60, almost $57. This is cool. It comes with a box, so granted, that's a really good deal. But the screen. Let's take a look at the screen real quick. This is about the best shot of the screen I could find. Yeah, it's pretty washed out, and these screens actually get worse with time and age. Have no fear though, you can upgrade the screen. You can upgrade it with what's called McWill's Atari Lynx LCD upgrade, and here at Retro Modding, they actually have the kit, and it's only a whopping $120. Yeah, you're already 3/4 of the price almost of Analogue Pocket. Okay, Game Gear's supported. Awesome. Let's look at how much a Game Gear is. Like a good, decent deal for one that's not beat up too bad. Oh, I found one. $40 on eBay. It's not too terrible. Let's take a look at that screen. Yeah, these screens actually get worse, people, over time. And you have to remind yourself that the backlight in this thing is also a CCFL, cold cathode ray or fluorescent bulb is what it is, or lamp. And they dim, and as they dim, the color gets lost on these screens and stuff. So they're not like LED lit like modern screens or anything like that. And they suck up a lot of power. Matter of fact, when you do the screen mods on these a lot of time, you get a lot more battery life out of them. Let alone you're just getting better screen technology. Well, there's also a similar mod for this, and as you can see, that screen doesn't look too great. Well, wouldn't you know, Retro Modding's also got a screen. Oh, it's the same one except for the Game Gear. And it's $120 also. So there you have it. If you already have this stuff and you want to go ahead, and I would even argue if you're talking about the Lynx in the Game Gear and you want to do a good screen mod for it, you're looking at $120. You do it on both, you're already past what this Analogue Pocket costs. And we're talking about an actual HD screen with a very high pixel per inch and an actual proper upscaling, because some of these aftermarket screens, I've seen others, but they're not well done and they're not a proper upscale of the system. So when you look at all this weighing in, it's actually kind of worth it. It's expensive, granted, for technology. And if all you care to do is just get one of these and just use it, just do that. It's going to be cheaper in the long run. But and then on top of that, there's not things you need to worry about. Like a lot of Game Gears had bad caps in them, and so the electrolytes leak out of them and stuff, and then your Game Gear's dead. So with this being new hardware, you don't have to worry about it as much. There's other good and bad things about it, but for the most part, what I'm seeing, I'm really, really, really liking of the system. And yeah, if I can, I'll probably pick one up. Matter of fact, I'm actually been toying with the idea of finally selling this Nintendo up here, because I'm not going to get a tube TV anytime soon or hook it up. It's just not practical. So stuff like this is a really cool solution to have one single device and still have all your games and be able to play it. I really like that. I just really hope that they eventually get WonderSwan support. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. If you like what I had to say or you didn't, thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't matter to me, it's interaction either way. Leave your comments down below, and yeah, subscribe if you haven't, all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Also, stream schedule's updated, so over on Twitch, and I stream to Twitch, by the way.